I already did that one. I'm gonna do it over. Okay. So those are the ones I'm going to refer to. All right, so we're going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and screen share and then start recording. Is anyone here who have a way to record on your own screen? Like Fireflies or something like that? Okay, great. All right, because we've been having this issue with my Zoom, our Zoom, so we're going to try it again here today. I'm going to hit record. Give me a moment. Where's my record?
Recording in progress.
Why did it say that? I didn't hit record yet. Record on to the cloud. So it just did something I don't think it was supposed to do. So it makes me think it's not doing it right. But thank you, Rocky, for recording. We're going to go ahead. It said recording in progress. Hold on.
Louise, I do see that it's recording up at the top of my screen. It says recording.
Yeah. And it says pause and stop here. So we're going to get started. We just hope it is recording. It's done that. So we'll see. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share again. All right. So welcome everybody to the Strategy Task Force session 16. Today is June 1st, 2025. And my name is Louise Campbell Anthony. I am the affiliate director here with the Peacekeeping Task Force. What you see here on the screen is the outline of what we're going to be going over here today. And today, this particular meeting marks a shift in how the Strategy Task Force is conducting the meetings. What you see here first, the task force team is the ones listed there. We did remove one. Doug said he's not going to be the advisory serve like that in that capacity right now. So we removed him, but the ones that are remaining are have been here and will be here to continue to analyze, evaluate, critique the American government's resurgence project that we've been developing. So what we're going to go over here today is the Peacekeepers part. We've been working on the last 15 sessions with actually developing the project, critiquing the project, and then we did the execution part and laid it all out in video format for all the assemblies to follow. We moved into the model county so that the county assemblies can follow. And now we're moving now into the Peacekeepers so that we can get some planning and some execution put together for you guys. And I'm going to lean on you Peacekeepers to help direct me through this. This is not my wheelhouse. I'm a strategist. I can do that part. But you are the people on the ground who knows how to relate to peacekeepers or law enforcement or people in those skill sets. So as I'm going over what I've envisioned for the project in phase 3, I want you all to be looking at it with a critical mind, thinking, is that going to work? Or would we better strategize it this way? Or what documents, we're going to go over documents that I've identified that would be useful. You're going to be thinking about if these are the documents that would be best useful, or can we add others or take some away, that type of thing. And who I invited here today for the Peacekeepers part is the county sheriffs, the liaisons, the continental marshals, and county sheriff's liaisons, county marshals, militia commanders. So you guys are the ones who's going to be executing phase 3. And what is phase 3? I'm going to get into that here in a moment. But what I want to read to you here is our primary focus of the strategy task force, what we have been focusing on. Because you are a new group, I want to start at this point. So we're reading here on the outline. It says, we will strategize on how to bring forth the directives that our fiduciary has made of our federal employees, their state-of-state franchises, the government corporations and agencies, and the banks as the employers. We will formalize a plan of action to get full cooperation and/or capitulation to transfer the governance of each state into the hands of the state assembly and into the hands of each county assembly. The county where the state capital is located will be the physical location where the strategy task force focuses to execute this strategic plan initially. The remaining counties will be facilitated by their respective state assembly. So the whole thrust of the American Government Resurgence Project is to start from the top and get them to capitulate and send the orders down, because that's just more effective than starting from the bottom, of course. So that was the focus going into the development of the project. We're going to get into the details of how the Peacekeepers are going to be doing that. So first, secondly, I usually like to acknowledge the international state assemblies who's participating and the model county assemblies that are participating. You go ahead and put your name in the chat, what county you're representing. If you want to be a model county, go ahead and let me know that in the chat and I can get contact with you there. Leave your email. And if you are a state assembly, international state assembly who wants to spearhead the project and participate, go ahead and put your name in the chat and your contact information for that. And welcome. I will get that there later. So I prepared a presentation for the Peacekeepers, for you Peacekeepers, so that you'll know what it is that I am proposing that you all do. And I'll go over that now. So in the chat, I put all the documents that I'm going to be referring to. And I'm going to try to articulate this as methodically as possible, so it doesn't be all scrambled in your head, because it's a lot of things to follow. And this is the best way that I thought of to actually present it to you today. And it's more like an overview and not so much details, because I did all those videos for all those details. So the next document I want you to follow along with me on is this one here. The Transference of Government Strategic Execution. You can find that in the chat. So this document, I laid out how the execution of the Resurgence Project will play out with phase 3 entities. So I start here, I say there are 3 boots on the ground deployment teams in phase 3. And here are the boxes for the 3 deployment teams for phase 3. On the left, you see the PKTF directorate. We'll be talking to Trump, who's the president of the corporation up there at the head, to discuss capitulation negotiations, which Anna has already started. We're just coming in as her support backup to try to bring it into fruition and start the actual conversation face to face. So that's one deployment that's going to happen. The directorate, meaning me, Boyd, Joe, Kathy, that group. Then we have the secure the capital aspect to the Resurgence Project. Those who's going to be going to the state capitals on these 50 states. That group will be led by the liaisons and the assembly militia commanders and the county sheriffs. We'll talk about how I envisioned that happening, and you're going to tell me, oh, Louise, it probably should go like this, okay? That's what you're going to do for me. But this is how I envision it. But those 3 offices are the 3 that I envision would be the ones who have the responsibility in their capacities to speak to the governor, speak to the state's attorney and secretary of state, those corporate heads in their states. And I chose the county that has the governor's office in it. So that's why it's called Secure the Capital. If we could get the governor to send down the orders and get him to capitulate, that makes our job that much more easier. So that group we're going to be talking about here today. We're not going to be talking about the first group. We're going to be talking about the Security Capital group. And then the third group here on the right, the Transference County Tours. This part, we don't talk about much because it's actually the last part to deploy. And this part is where our county sheriffs go communicate with their counterpart county sheriffs on the de facto end and let them know what the crimes are and let them know, educate them on common law and let them know how we need to cooperate to bring peace to the American public and get our jurisdiction straight and let them know what the crimes are actually happening right up under their noses and what them two, the de facto and the de jure, need to do to work together to mitigate that. And because I know Adam and Andrew are bringing all the county sheriffs together, I want to lay that in their lap to do. to do. And as I'm thinking about what you guys are doing in this area, it's the networking part that's missing that I haven't talked about much in the Resurgence Project can happen here where we network with those counterparts, the county sheriffs on the de facto and CSPOA, because I know we have Annette, she's one of the CSPOA sheriffs related to that. So we can bring that network in together so we can start putting their foot to the fire that they can, what it means for them to be constitutional sheriffs. Okay, so that part is where you go into all the other counties that wasn't the capital county. That's where that element comes in. So we're going to talk about the Security Capital and the Transference County Tours today in our Peacekeepers execution planning. So these are the things that I thought is important that we all know, all the Peacekeepers know as we try to come together with an effective execution strategy. Some of these things I know are exactly correct. Other things that I don't know exactly correct, I will mention. Well, I'm not quite sure about that. I will let you know. But these are things we should know. First thing, we should know our end goal. Our end goal to our execution is to achieve two things. Gain the recognition as America's only government, because everybody else is subcontractors. Second thing is to achieve a systemic solution to get the remedy for all of our Americans who's been perpetrated upon this 160 years of this criminal activity. So we're going to bring forth this systemic solution that Anna has been talking about. And we're going to do these two things coming from all these different angles. The two angles we're going to talk about or continue to talk about in these sessions will come from the Peacekeepers. Now, I put in the chat what the American Government Resurgence Project is. I created a little reference guide for you. If you haven't been following this since we've been developing it, I created a whole little reference guide here for you. You can read about and become up to speed on what it actually is. But your section is phase 3 right here, is what we're discussing here in these sessions. But all the other sessions are the other angles that we're coming from when I mentioned angles. So on here, I want to bring your attention to the boots on the ground strategies. We have the assembly strategies here at the top, number 1, but the number 2 is our peacekeeper strategies, the liaisons, commanders, continental marshals, and all of them. So for them is our starting point is with our liaisons and our commanders. What your role is deliver the public law, meaning let them know what the law of the land is. And I'm going to go over through some of the documents that we've created throughout the project. So that's your role. So we're going to go into roles of which things that you're going to be accomplishing when you're going face to face with your counterparts. Then the county sheriffs, what their role is going to be. Then the continental marshals, how they actually come into the play. And then the end result is somebody's going to have to be arrested and somebody's going to have to get amnesty. We're the government and we're executing this strategy and taking to the stage America's public, letting the American public know we're the government, so we have to protect them. I think we've been in the background because we haven't been ready. We're getting ready. And we might as well be ready right now. Time is ticking. From the beginning of the project, I saw that we had a 4-year window based on how I'm interpreting the playing field. Trump is a significant part in what's happening on this playing field. And 2020 to 2024, and then 2024 to 2028 is a critical shift. I think our window is 2024 to 2028. If we're not ready, we got to get ready, and whoever's ready, let's go. Those who's not ready will catch up. That's how I am right now. And we have this is 2025. So in this reference guide, you'll read the whole strategy of all 6 phases, and then this particular section is about the peacekeepers. So we know our end goal. The second thing we need to know is the situation, the political situation out there. The situation is this, as far as I understand it, Chapter 11 bankruptcy, the territorial government is in Chapter 11 and in receivership. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, the municipal government is gone. So what we're seeing play out is the territorial subcontractors auditing and absorbing the municipal subcontractor. And when I say that to myself, or even hear that word, they're gone, I don't think they're gone. It's like you're hiding, because that's how they play the game. When Anna was telling us how they initially wanted to play the game, you get to understand what I mean. And when she initially played the game, let me explain what I mean by that. So they had a plan A, but plan A didn't work. So now they're working on plan B. Plan A, according to what I understand, is, and I don't know if I don't see that I clicked. I don't know if that I clicked to find the document, but the document where she says plan A, here, yes, I do have it. Let me see if I can find it. Here. It's in this document here, my training notes. It's number 2. This was plan A. The most recent plan to feed upon us was even worse, where she says the perpetrators, the municipal corporation, intended to spend itself into oblivion, declare bankruptcy, saddle Americans with its debts for the next 500 years. Worse, they intended to foreclose on our estates and make false claims on abandonment, allowing their own secondary creditors to come in and seize our lands and homes and conscript us to forced labor again to pay their private debts. To put frosting on the cake of infamy and betrayal of trust, Barack Obama not only bankrupted the municipal corporation as planned, he also bankrupted the territorial municipal corporation, because it's all caps. So is it territorial or is it municipal? I'm not sure. Leaving no federal corporation, so it was the territorial, leaving no federal corporation in charge of providing the stipulated 19 services. So this, in effect, vacated the actual Constitution, as there was no longer a competent federal partner available to perform the duties. Instead, bankruptcy trustees named by the secondary creditors, which are the international banks, would be appointed by default to administer things however they fit. They saw fit. So that was Plan A. Plan A didn't happen that way because it says, against this backdrop in November 2015, we took action to fill the gap and forestall this outcome. So that's why it didn't happen that way. So now they're on Plan B. So acting as the head of state, I contracted with the Native nations of the Athabascans and Lakota Sioux to become the new federal service providers. As a precaution, I issued new sovereign letters patent and issued a joint declaration of sovereignty with the new federal partners upholding the Declaration of Independence. And then they go on to say how they we waited until the last minute, hoping the Queen and the British Crown and Pope, all those others responsible for the mess, would do the right thing. But in June 29, 2017, we entered our claim to restore all land and land assets to the American states and people they naturally belong to. We gave the rats notice, so on and so forth. So this tells me what Plan A was, and because Fiduciary and head of state came in and got new federal partners with the Athabascans and the Lakota Sioux, they had to shift to Plan B. And what we see, it might be C, I don't know. But what we're seeing playing out now, the situation that how I'm interpreting it, is the territorial now have absorbed the municipal, and while they're doing their audits and trying to restructure how they're going to be the storefront, while the municipal is in the background, while they're trying to get that situated, our fiduciary on this side is collapsing the estates, collapsing the municipal estate, Cesta KB estate, collapsing the British Territorial Marine estate, and then we're working on collapsing the American Descendant estate. This is the situation. We need to know that this is the situation as we're talking to them, because when we talk to them, we need to talk like we know what we're talking about. So this is a situation about what contract is on the table and who are the contractual parties and who has what obligation to do what. That's what the conversation is really about. We talk a lot about law, which is related to it in the sense of admiralty law, maritime law, common law, all that. But it really boils down to the contract. The contract is the one that's determining the law that is relevant. So as we're talking to people out there, we need to know what that situation is and that we're talking about the contract. So the banks, now we have our banks that's returning the assets to the man and woman, the individual man and woman. But eventually what we need to happen too is for the territorial to return the trust funds back to our state assemblies. The contract is, the state assemblies do not have a contract with the territorial government. This is how I'm interpreting this. They have no contract with the state of state. The state of state territorial government has a contract with the U.S. military. And I say they have a contract with the U.S. military because what happened with the Civil War, when organic states of states were hoodwinked or whatever to change, reissue new contracts. The new contracts was the new corporate state of state contracts. So our state assemblies don't have a contract with the corporate state of state, but our federation do have a contract with the military. For good or for worse, we have a contract with the military, which brings me into the second part. Know who the contractual parties are. Now, these two particular links go to explain what these contracts are that I'm referring to. The Federation Fiduciary and the head of state contracts with Trump as the commander-in-chief, with the Lakota Sioux Nation, Chief Laverne Fast Horse, with the Athabascan Nation, Michael Young, Stephen Young, and with the Peacekeeping Task Force. And that's in the document, and I'm getting it from this document here. where our federation fiduciary says who our contracts are with. When we're out there talking, we have to talk like we know what we're talking about. Let me see if I can find it here. Thought I could find it pretty quickly, but I can't. All right. I'm pretty sure this is the one where she talks about second generation scoundrels, because I got to read this. We don't talk about this much. Leaves the country. Is it under the other one? Let me make sure I got the right one. I don't think it's this one. I'm going to try this one here.
Louise, you could probably use Control F to find
what I'm looking for. Control F.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to look up Michael. Is it in that one? Nope, it's not that one. Let me look up Michael in this one here. Oh, I had Control F already and didn't never mind. Okay, here. It says there are only 3 legitimate federal subcontractors at this point. Donald Trump has a contract to act as commander-in-chief and to supply our military. His plainly stated mission is to protect and defend this country and its people from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Michael Stephen Young has a civilian contract to administer public philanthropic and infrastructure development programs, including direct relief to individual states and counties. And our peacekeeping task force has a contract to network together and educate the peacekeeping forces of our country, including the constitutional sheriffs, state assembly of militias, and our directly commissioned continental marshals, who are the land jurisdiction officers interfacing with the U.S. Marshals program. That's who I know. That's where I get the information from. That's who we got contracts with. So when we're talking about how we are going to be interfacing with the de facto, we need to be talking about their contractual obligations. And when we're telling them we're making demands of them, it has to be in alignment with what their contract is, which Anna always says, it has to be in alignment with the contract. So we need to look at those state-of-state contracts and making sure that we are talking to them in respect to their obligations to their obligations to the territorial U.S. military and how that actually affects us. So I think that that our state assemblies need to be talking to the corporate head, the president, the commander-in-chief, and telling him to get your employees in order. That's how I see the chain of custody or the chain of authority going. We tell our employee, the commander-in-chief, and this is one of the reasons why I think he couldn't stand down in 2020, Even though he so-called lost the election, he was under contract as a commander-in-chief. So he kept that office. I think that's one of the reasons why. But as we're talking to our territorial state of states, we need to know that they are in contract with the U.S. military. So we understand that we have the prerogative to tell the U.S. military to send down the orders to the state governor. That's what I'm thinking with this. Go to the top and have them send down the orders to their employees. So the subcontractors of the subcontractors. We spend a lot of time speaking to the subcontractors of the subcontractors. We need to spend more time speaking to our subcontractors. Next thing we need to know is the citizenry statuses and jurisdiction of the people involved. Now, this is another area that we really need to know what we're talking about when we're talking to them. So the citizenry that's involved, we have the employed federal and federalized citizens. And I say federalized citizens, meaning those on the state, county, and local level are federalized because they have a contract with the U.S. military. They are U.S. citizens and municipal citizens of our subcontractors and their franchises. Then we have declared American state nationals who may also be employed as federal or federalized employees. Then we have stateless Americans who are not declared. I'm going to explain that a little bit more in a minute. Then we have the other citizenry who are aliens or foreign nationals. Now, to the right, I say there are no 14th Amendment citizens or citizens by birth in America. Birth registrations are outlawed by our public law, A-10-10-121. So that means as we go out there, every man or woman in America is now required to show on the public record evidence of being, they're either going to be showing that they're criminals perpetrating human trafficking or that they're victims of human trafficking. Let me refer to what in my notes, why I'm thinking that. In my training notes, number one, and this is what I told the assemblies. We can't call everybody U.S. citizens because according to our law, the only ones that can be U.S. citizens are those employed by the federal government. And in this case, federalized also by the federal government. This is from Anna's document. The test for being a British citizen or not should be limited to actual employment by the United States of America Incorporated or be accorded to someone actually and factually living in Puerto Rico or one of the other British Commonwealth domiciles among the 7 insular states. The existence of foreign birth certificates attached to Americans and the existence of interstate British seamen estates named after us should be considered evidence of crimes against us, not evidence of any obligation on our part. So we can't call them U.S. citizens, or we'll also be guilty of human trafficking. So what do we call them? Well, that's where I got the word stateless from. There's just stateless, non-declared Americans because they haven't declared themselves yet, because we can't call them U.S. citizens according to the laws we already made. So, and I told the assemblies that they go out there and hold the public meetings, you just ask who in here are employed by the federal government. Whoever raised their hand, those are U.S. citizens. If they're employed by the state or the county government, they are federalized citizens according to their contracts. Now, we could go further with that to talk about what was disclosed and what was not disclosed. And I'm going to leave that alone right now. But as our peacekeepers go out there, we have to be clear and know that we're talking to either somebody who is criminally human trafficking and know it, or somebody who is a victim of human trafficking and don't know it. Those are the two people we're going to be speaking to. We're going to get into the documents that we're going to use out there that will help the American public take a position. I'll put it that way. Inform them of what the public law says and what they need to do to correct the public record. That's where correcting our political status come in at. I'll talk more about the documents that we created for that. Next thing we need to know is our roles. Like I went through, we have 3 lines of communication. The first line of communication is our liaisons and our militia commanders. They give the information to the governor, the secretary of state, the attorney general, give them the information that they need to know. You're delivering the orders. Hopefully we'll have the orders from Trump, but if we don't, if he's not going to capitulate or not cooperate, we're going to have our directives from our state assemblies and deliver them to them. but we're gonna try to work the chain of custody thing so that they can bring the orders down to their own employees, which would be much more powerful and easier to get our job done. But do I expect them to cooperate? I don't. But we're gonna try it. The second line of communication we have is the county sheriffs. The county sheriffs are going to do their job by networking with their counterparts, and offering to train them if they need training in common law. And as the American public is doing their job to correct the public record, the county sheriffs are going to be receiving reports of criminal activity of human trafficking that they're going to have to be processing. And you'll see what that looks like in here in a moment. But that's the other thing is our county sheriffs are going to be doing out there. And if our county sheriffs got the cooperation of the de facto and got enough networking going together with the de facto county sheriffs and CSPOA, the constitutional sheriffs, if you got enough network and clout and respect and communication going on with those groups, then you have that much more enforcement and getting the public law recognized and upheld, meaning nobody is going to be considered as a U.S. citizen if they're not employed. And all of this fraud that's going on, we have a whole list of, I call it my one fell swoop list of remedies, is what we're going to be delivering and requiring of the state of states and U.S. military and everybody to uphold. And I'm calling it government reforms because they like that word. So while they're in the process of reforming their government, we have a list of government reforms, which are our directives, that we want them to do, like raise up our peace flag on all those government buildings, that type of thing. Put a billboard in your courtyard that says correct your political status. Those types of things. We'll go over those documents in a minute. But that's our second line of communication, is with our county sheriffs. And the third line of communication will be, if we have to call in our continental marshals, then that would be our third line, because somebody is about to get arrested or somebody's about to get not pardoned, but amnesty, because we have to take it to that we have to take it to that final end. To be we're a legitimate government, then we need to be able to do that. So there are things we're going to have to, of course, put into play so that we'll be able to do that. But if our county sheriffs are effective at what they're doing with their networking, we'll have that capacity to do that. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Because my screen froze.
No, you're good, Louise.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So the documents that everyone should know and be familiar with are these here on that I've listed here. These are the documents that all three lines need to have in hand to go talk to the counterparts. The state federalized constitutions for your state. This is their contract with their military, which we know is the mirror of our Constitution of 1789. So we know that, but they may not know that, but they know what their contract is. So we got to be able to point out to them that it needs to be in alignment with this one. The other thing that we've created here is the Peacekeeping Task Force Enforcement Reference Guide. Peacekeepers and Law Enforcement Reference Guide. Here I created this to to highlight the important points that need to be discussed while you're talking to the governor, while you're talking to the county sheriffs, while you're talking to Secretary of State, while you're talking to, you can use this for your town government, board of trustees, and all these other people too. These are the points of conversation that they're going to need to be educated about for them to get up to speed of what's actually going on. What are we actually out there doing We are transferring the government control that they have into our hands. That's what we're doing. We have to do that effectively and tactically. Okay, so this document was created so that you'll have your conversation points, and it'll be a reference guide for the people that you're talking to. And it's going to be created in a poster form so that they can put it on their walls in their government buildings, so they can refer to it. Now, as the liaisons and the militia commanders go out there with the first line of communication talking about this, I know it's going to take more than one conversation. This document has links in it that the de facto will be able to go reference while you're gone, in between time, that they might have questions about. So, and it has a place here on the right where your particular state assembly can put their credentials on there. They can go to your website. You can direct them to whatever website you need to direct them to, whether it's your home website or whatever, for them to contact the state assembly that they need to be communicating with. It has links here to our declaration of flag, which is one of the documents that you need to have in hand when you're talking to them. Our declaration of flag shows them our provenance, and it puts in their mind that we've declared peace. So while we're asking them, we're not nicely asking them to raise our peace flag. This is their reference point of where we're coming from in the International Peace Proclamation. So I do have a section here of terms that it was recommended to add. Anybody, now all these terms it's not going to fit. So you as the peacekeepers, you know what the conversations are like when you're talking to them. What are the words that they need to be educated about? That's one thing I would need from you guys to tell me, well, we don't need to include that word, but we need to include this word, so we can have the correct terminology that you all will make clear to them as you're talking to them. Otherwise, I'm just going to put the words that I think, and then I'm going to finish the document and hand it to you. Okay, so this is one of the main documents that you're going to have. And with this document, I have in here the Federal Bureau of Investigation document, their little reference guide. And this is what I patterned it after. This particular guide is very important when we're going out there to talk to the de facto, because it talks about the sovereign citizen pejorative that they want to label us as and demean us as well. When you're talking to them, you want to be sure to point out what a sovereign citizen is. And that's why I pointed it out clearly on this reference guide that they're going to post on their walls. It says sovereign citizens are U.S. citizens. As you are talking to them, you see, it doesn't matter anything that comes after that. Nothing else matters, whatever comes after that. They define what it is. It is a U.S. citizen. So, and we're going to try to make it that simple when you're talking about jurisdictions, because you're going to be talking about jurisdictions as you go out there. You're going to be talking about how to identify an American state national. You're going to talk about our credentials card, right? So you're going to be identifying that we are not a U.S. citizen, and we're getting them to recognize who we actually are. Once we get them to recognize who we actually are, then the sovereign citizen issues that we've been having should be easier to address, even on the side of the road. Because all you do is show your credential card, and now they've been educated on jurisdictions and all this. Even in my document here, I say, I want to make it this simple. When an American state national or state citizen is encountered, and if there is no corpus delicti or no crime suspected in progress, law enforcement agents are to release custody, do not detain, do not interrogate. I want to make it that simple. Show you a card that they can verify, which is what we've been trying to do all along, but we're going to bring this forward, show you a card to identify who we are. And once you know that this is an American state national, you already know sovereign citizen doesn't apply. And with law enforcement, they understand jurisdiction. Because you can go to a city police, if you are within their city limits, they understand that. If you're outside their city limits, they'll say you're not in my jurisdiction. We need to educate them on what the soil jurisdiction is, and that they have no jurisdiction here. So I want to make it that simple in the American Government's Resurgence Project. Okay, so that's one of the documents that that I want you to have in hand. Of course, I said the Declaration of Flag is one of the other document that you're going to have in hand. The Declaration of Provenance, you remember what that one looked like? So here's the Declaration of Flag. Here's the Declaration of Jurisdiction and Provenance. These two you're going to have in hand. And be able, these documents you need to be familiar with. Read them, study them, know how to articulate them, use them as a reference point when you're using certain terminology. This is what I mean by know your documents. Now there's 3 documents here that was created specifically to put in the hands of the American public, to empower them to self-govern, to empower them to get out of this criminal slavery that they're in and don't know that they're in. The 3 documents that was created is called a Declaration of Law of the Land regarding birth registrations, Declaration of Law of the Land regarding the Federal Reserve Notes, and the Criminal Information Notice of Liability regarding both. These documents are going to be created by your state assembly. I drafted up the document in a format that I thought explains the provenance, explains the authority of why you have the authority to do what you're doing as a state assembly. This is how I create the document. Then Anna hasn't gone through the document yet, but I don't think she needs to. It's going to come from the state assembly. The state assembly can use the document as is, and I put boxes here to tell you why or what that section is about. I have a declaration of title section, a provenance statement section, an issuing authority statement, declaring statement. I put that there so that the state assembly or the county assembly, depending on who it is going to be using it, can know what that area is talking about and decide, do I want that area in our document or not? So your state assembly or your county assembly will be the ones to decide what sections go in here. What is the point of this document? The point of this document is to declare the law of the land regarding our public law. We just passed 3 public laws. We have to bring those forward. So this one is declaring our public law regarding the birth registrations. The next one is declaring the public law regarding the other two regarding the Federal Reserve Notes and the credit theft that's going on, that's been ended. In actuality, it's like anybody who has a Federal Reserve Notes is guilty of credit theft. Don't even know it. From the beginning, it was credit theft. That's what a Federal Reserve Note represents. It's a credit theft monopoly. So by the fact that you have one, you can prove that you're involved in it. Now, you're not the perpetrator, but you're involved in it because somebody's perpetrating it upon you because it's still in circulation. Now, do you all know that Anna said those should be coming out of circulation, have already put that order in place to take them out of circulation? That's what we're bringing forth with this declaration. She already made the order to take it out of circulation. What we're doing in our execution and transference of government control is bringing forth all the things that already have taken place into manifestation, doing our part to actually bring it forward. So that's what this declaration is about. So your state assembly, your county assembly can read it to see how they want to word it. If they want to use the statements that I put in here, and I based it off of Anna's articles that she's already given the orders to do these things. So these two documents you'll need to be familiar with. Take them to your state assemblies. They can decide whether they want to use them or not. But the point is, bring forward the public law and deliver it, the documentation, to the de facto counterparts. Because we have declared the law of the land, and this is what they have to uphold and follow. That's what we're doing with these declarations. If they don't follow the declaration, they don't recognize the American state nationals as who they are, and still continue to want to unlawfully convert us into peonage, then we have our criminal information notice of liability. So all the American people, as the county assemblies go out there, as the state assemblies go out there and hold their public meetings, they put in the hands of those people in those public meetings these declarations and tell them how they need to use them. These are what you use to defend yourself, to correct your to correct the public record that says, right now it says you're part of human trafficking because you got that birth certificate and it's signed and everything, and this is what that birth certificate means. So if you don't want to be accused of that, then you need to correct the public record, put your declaration out there, say, okay, now I know. Now I can get out of this, and let the powers that be know that I'm not participating. When we can get the American public, the American public to we tell them you can't be a U.S. citizen, that's a crime. That's what we're telling them. Do you work for the federal government? Oh, do you work for the post office? Do you work for your town government? Then you can't be a U.S. citizen, because they're holding on to that. That's part of our problem. They're causing us a problem because they're holding on to that, and we have to stand there and convince them till we're blue in the face that this is a fraud. We're not going to stand there and convince them till they're blue in the face anymore. We're just going to tell them what the law is and tell them what the penalty is if you want to break the law. I'm making it that simple because it really is that simple. If we're seriously the government, that's what our law says. So we're going to bring it forward. What they can do with the declarations that is placed in their hands, they can uphold those declarations and put with it this criminal information notice of liability regarding the birth registrations and the Federal Reserve notes. I laid this all out with all the evidence. I even added in here, as far as the registration of birth, I added in the new information Anna just gave us about the guy who proved that the placenta was his, and I didn't get all into that, the claim and everything, but she said that was the final straw right there. So that's part of the evidence that I put in here in the criminal information notice. I laid out all the evidence here that I had that I thought was solid evidence to prove the case, and is laid out like in counts, because in my mind, I'm keeping the option open that if the assembly have to go to court for some reason on behalf of the Americans who are still being perpetrated upon. I hear our federation going to court. I don't know why we think we may not have to go to court. I mean, no, we say stay out of the courts, but it's also an option when they still don't do what they're supposed to do. But we'll have to learn how that happens. I don't know how that happens. I don't even know how it is that the federation, Fast Horse and all of them is going to court. I don't even know how all that works, but it's happening. So we might have to do that in our execution here too. It may come down the line where we have to do a class action suit or something on behalf of the Americans who's still been perpetrated against. That's what this criminal information notice is for. So our county sheriffs, as the American public, is being empowered with these declarations and this criminal information notice. They can put their affidavit in the form of a testimony attached to it. And this is what I'm telling the assemblies to direct the American public to do in their public meetings. Have them attach their testimony to it and send it down here. I say you can send it to the U.S. military, send it to the Continental Marshals, send it to the de facto county sheriff and the de jure county sheriffs. Let them know a crime is still being, this is a crime and I'm not being a part of it, but it's happening, because we got to do something about it. This is the pressure that I envision that we're going to have to put on them for them to capitulate. I think it takes the people to make them do what they have to do. It's going to take more than just having a group state assembly of 50 people, sending them letters, telling them we're the government. I honestly don't think that's going to get them to capitulate. That's why I developed all these different angles to come at them at. They've been at this for 160 years. Why would I think that just because I said, okay, I'm corrected now, that they're listening? I don't think they're listening. So that's why I developed the strategy to go out there into the American public in their view and put something in their hands to empower them to put the pressure on. Everybody know they're an American. They just don't know about the fraud. That's what I'm trying to do with these two declarations and the criminal information notice. So these documents will go to your state assemblies, your county assemblies, and they will draft them, critique them, and pattern them the way that they want to, so that you all can have it in your hand representing your state assembly. At the top, your state assembly's logo goes up here. The Federation goes on the left. This is how I laid it out. Federation to the left, the flag to the right. This is under the authority of your assembly. But this is under authority of your assembly attached to the declaration of flag, the declaration of jurisdiction that's already signed by our head of state. So that package goes together. So people can see the chain of custody, the chain of authority from your assembly to the head of state. That's why I sandwiched it together like that. The other thing I thought was interesting that I'm thinking it may be good to use is what Kimberly and her team showed us regarding the Crown Corporation, to differentiate them from us, to let them know they're the subcontractors and we're the government. It may be useful, and I think it is, for us to prove the point that they're the British territorial subcontractor. You need to go through this and, familiarize yourself and decide, do you think it's a good piece of evidence to use? I think it is, with the British Crown copyright right there on the bottom. I think it is. I do have questions about it. I don't know if you all might know the answer, but I sent this question to Anna. I don't know if I can find it, but in here, it had right here. Anybody notice this? Notified on July 3rd, 1776. I noticed that. I asked Anna, who are they notifying? What is the connection here? Maybe you all know what that is. I would love to know, who are they notifying? If our declaration was July 4th, 1776, is it just the time difference of them being in in the United Kingdom? I don't know. But that was a question that I had. And if y'all know, I'd like to know the answer to that.
Louise, it's Paul in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some historical documentation that had said that it was actually July 3rd. So it's just to discrepancy and, but we've heard that before, July 3rd instead of July 4th, where the notification and it was the next day. That's one of the stories that had come up, and I'm talking, it was, just one of those things, but I just wanted to bring, and maybe answer one of the possibilities as that question. I yield.
Well, another reason I bring it up, if we do use that information, we need to be able to answer that question. Because if we're saying that we are the government, but we're using that document to say that they're the subcontractor, but they have the same date, then we have something to explain. So that is one thing that but I think it was a good document. We'll have to see if we want to use it or not. So the last thing here in the things that I think we need to know, I just said we need to present yourself as competent in professional attire. And I can't scroll this up anymore. I don't know why. Professional attire with your business dress. Liaisons are in their business dress with their common access badge. Our sheriffs are in their sheriff's uniform with their stars. This gives credibility to our government. So we need to be competent, be skilled, and be prepared to protect. And I'm going to say it that way. Be prepared to protect, because you don't know what you're going to encounter out there, or even the American assemblies, the county assemblies, the state assemblies, while they're out there running their public meetings, they may encounter something. So we have to be prepared to protect them. Now, what's coming forward here, and I'm trying to plan this out as far as the training go, so that we can be knowledgeable. Knowledgeable is another thing we have to be. Is the strategy task force session today started the first one of the Peacekeepers execution planning, but I asked Boyd and Adam if they would come up with a training series to educate the county sheriffs and offer that education to the de facto county sheriffs as far as common law and all that type of thing. That type of training is coming forward. And our next training for the liaisons is going to be moving toward management. Actually, your management as far as getting you onboarded with your common access badge and getting your office situated and your schedule situated where you're going to decide what day am I going to see the governor today, or which liaison office is going to see the governor today. Y'all get y'all schedules together, that type of thing. That's coming up in our next liaison training. And then the other training that's going to come, I know I got an email from the International Militia Call, I believe have started. I haven't been, but I believe I did get an email about that. So that's another place where the militias can get training. So this is an overview, a snapshot of how I see our execution happening. I'm going to open up the floor to you guys. I've been seeing your hands, but I was trying to get through all of that. Sorry. I'm going to open up the floor to you guys so you all can give me some input and what your thoughts are. Kimberly?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Louise. Again, a plethora of information to be able to work with and go through. So thank you for that. Specifically, if I may, for just a moment, go because I wrote some notes down with regard to the PKTF reference guide, please. I was wondering if the guide that you all are referencing, that was their internal guide, is available for us to see that. I realize you've dropped things into this, but is this a guide that could be made available for us to see what they actually see, what their format looks like, and so forth? Is that possible to access that, please?
Do you mean this one?
Yes.
Actually, if you go online and type Federal Bureau of Cyber and Citizen Violent Extremism, that's where I found it.
Okay.
You can
Perfect.
download it.
Thank you.
But
Appreciate
I
it.
do have it and I can send it to you all too.
Whatever, whichever's easiest. I know you're very busy. I just wasn't sure where we had gotten it from source wise. Is it just the one page that we're seeing here? Just kind of you've copied and pasted it, so I'm not looking for a full booklet or anything. This isn't just a highlight part of it, or is it just a part of it?
It's a part of it. I think it's 2 or 3 pages though. It's not a booklet. It's only
Okay.
like 2 or 3 pages.
Okay, it'll just be interesting. I'd be curious to see what the rest of it says, just out of curiosity. So thank you for sharing the source on that. So back to your formatting and the size with the poster. What size of poster are you actually considering this to be?
So I think you can make it any size, but this one I just drafted in as an 8.5 by 14. You can make it bigger if you want, but this is an 8.5 by 14.
Okay, laminated?
Well, if you want it laminated, it's
Okay.
gonna cost. And let me
Sure.
talk about that a little bit. When we go out to speak to the de facto, there's gifts you're gonna have in your hand, right? So you're gonna have this poster for them. It would be nice to be laminated, so they'll get the idea that this goes on your wall. So that's where we want you to put it. And if it's laminated, we know it won't be damaged that easily. The other thing I think we should have is the flag. I think the assembly should buy a flag. And when you go to say, we need you to, raise this flag that we've given to you up there, when y'all having that conversation, I think we need to have that flag for them to, that type of thing. And your donuts and all that we talked about before.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Excuse me, with the 8.5 by 14, then is it 2 pages on one side, 2 pages on the back side?
No, I wouldn't put them front and back. I put them 1 page each. So when they put it on their wall, you can see
4
you want it
pages
on their wall.
They'll have 4 little posters then. Is that what is what I'm hearing then?
This would be 4 little posters. Yep.
Okay, perfect. That's where I was thinking that it was 1 poster and not 4. So I was just trying to get what the format looked like that. So, okay, thank you. That helps me. So when we will be, for lack of a better way of naming it, given these templates to be able to take and work, I'm assuming they're going to be an open format that we can go ahead and substitute out our own state customized area in our own work. And if so, what kind of format will you send it to us in to be able to get this over to, say, a printer or something? Is it going to be in formats that can go to printing easily at that point?
I think if you have Microsoft Publisher, that's the format it's in. At least I think that's the format it's in, if I'm not mistaken. If you don't, then I can put in your customized information for you and send it to you as a PDF.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That helps. And then I am wondering, have you printed this out in a way that you've been able to actually look at it, and how is it for print size and actually being able to read it in in printed form? Is it something that we still, for those of us that have eyes are a little more challenged these days, can we actually read it? And so I know it's a beautiful layout, but then we have to certainly get to the point of, can you still read it text size wise?
So yeah, I did print it out. I can read it. That's me. But if it's a poster, which it will be, then you can make it as big as you want, which means the letters will be bigger.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And then I think the last suggestion that I would feel, I think, very comfortable with, and I've expressed it before too. I like your idea for having the poster or posters. The difficulty I have found, just having been a business owner in the past, when you get posters coming into an otherwise cluttered or previously taken wall space, you don't have it. So I think that we could end up with things that got put in a pile that didn't necessarily get posted as well as we might like them. So that would be one thing to just sort of consider where you might be taking them. But I do think that what would be very helpful, and I personally would prefer, would be to have something in hand that I could hand to men and women, not just one man or woman, but it could be made much more available for many. So if you are there and you have several, deputies or something, one group isn't listening to you, but all these others are listening and they want individual things that you can just quickly hand them that they can go home in the wee hours of the night and read or start right there on their lunch hour. I think having things in hand that can maybe get to the men and women that aren't in these roles that have more authority, that maybe the ears that are listening, overhearing and so forth, they may be a wonderful way to be able to make sure that, this lands in the office somewhere and that, maybe one of the good guys that, everyone loves in the office is going to be the guy that speaks up and goes, "Did you guys read this? I mean, really, did you read it?" So I think if we can make sure that it is available to go out in a mass distribution as opposed to just a small distribution, that would be helpful. And the other thing that I was considering with this is it could give us a really nice option to be able to create some thumb drives that would be specifically for, we could have the outside designed for either the assemblies or a joint assembly PKTF initiative where we would have the Say This document on it. Maybe we have the Resurgence newsletter on it or other things that we could load into it that again could be the things that we could give to men and women that are easy passes. They're real quick, easy passes. And I've seen just with some other research I was doing that we can get some of these thumb drives down when we order in quantity. And if we're all doing the same thing, we might be able to hit these quantity numbers that we can get these thumb drives produced for as little as, $2.50. And so it might be a great option to have a more broad mass, distributing of these things. So just some suggestions. The poster would be hard for me, I have to say. It would be difficult for me to actually work with that. So thank you, and I yield.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, Louise, I just wanted to say this is some great stuff. I definitely used a lot of that stuff. It works. I've been explaining a lot to them. I'm probably on about level 5 or 6 now. You know what I mean? But that what you're talking about the UK, is that one of the things that we could download it? Yeah, that right there.
Yeah, this is their website. This is the website right here.
No, I'm saying, did you put that in the chat earlier?
Oh, I don't think I did, but I put the link right here in
Okay,
your.
okay. I was just wondering. I wanted to let everybody else know that, on the TASA site, Anna does have all the Dun and Bradstreet numbers for every state. So what I did is I just got to Ohio's. I'd copied that and I handed that out to all the chiefs, and the sheriff, just making sure they know they are working for a corporation. It says it right in there. So maybe if somebody, if you guys want to do that, that'll help. But that's about it. I yield. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. Adam?
Yeah, sorry, it's been a minute. So we moved away from the association name and we just decided to go with Peacekeeper Sheriff's Organization. That way we're not affiliated with any of the other de facto type associations. And then also, as far as making an original claim through the New York International Court of Federal Claims, that's the only place that does common law as far as men and women being able to go make international claims. And then we also have the Superior Court that's still in DC, that's under federal, Article 5 convention. It still reserves the right to hold common law court for people making claims against each other. It's a pain in the neck to get them to actually do that. And one of the places where people make the mistakes to be able to actually get their paperwork in to where they're recognized and accepted is because they're not going after the proper bonds. They're going after blanket policies. Each one of these people that are in office that requires an oath is supposed to have a personal recognizance bond that is joined with their oath of office. And they're supposed to pay for this out of their own pocket. They're not supposed to be under blanket policies. That means that they have no lawful standing to occupy those positions. So like our Governor DeWine, doesn't have a recognizance bond, and so on. I've looked at just about every single one of the states, and I'm finding a whole lot of nothing. So what we would want to do is we would want to make a Bivens claim, and we would want to bring a deprivation of rights claim, which would be Title 42 USC under 1983, 85, and 86. And we would want to prepare a nice amicus brief laying out everything, all the people involved. This is the who, what, when, why, where, and, that type of stuff. And then you would basically file your stuff. It should get approved if you do it strategically in order, like I just described. You got your Bivens claim, whatever title actions, Title 18, 241, 242 for the collusion and conspiracy. You can't do those by themselves. You can't bring a claim and say, okay, I'm suing you for Title 18, 241, and 242. You have to bring an original claim, deprivation of rights, 1983. That opens the door. Then you add all of the other stuff from Title 18, collusion, conspiracy, all the other stuff. But you have to lay this stuff out chronologically, and you have to keep everything at the different levels, because you're going to obviously have to start at your local federal court, which we have one downtown Akron. So you would go there, they're going to screw with you. So you got to go to the U.S. appellate court. From there, you could work your way into the whatever your state Supreme Court. And then you just keep appealing higher and higher until you get that sucker out of state to DC or up to New York. So it's a long process, and usually they beat people out by attrition because we can't afford $600, $1 million in litigation fees. But if you get a couple of us that put our heads together, I'm sure we could accomplish anything. So I'll yield on that.
Thank you, Adam. Annette?
Sorry, I had to plug my microphone in. Thank you for that. That was really good information, by the way, Adam. Louise, once again, I'm feeling really good. You bring to us such strong information, and the training is outstanding, and it's so greatly appreciated. We have 2 questions on Marion. So the document that you had all of the logos on the top for the counties will there be different logos than for the states? Because at one point we got if you could put it word spanked for having that we couldn't put as a county, we weren't allowed to use all those logos on top. I'm not sure if that was, I was just copying something we got off the organizers thing, but I wouldn't want to step over anybody's toes as far as jurisdiction. So I wanted to be double sure about that.
Yeah, so I have that same question. I'm still trying to get from Anna, what is the logo for the United States? That's the one for the United States of America, but I haven't seen one for the United States. Well, it's not a logo, it's a seal. So she talks about the seal for the United States of America and the seal for the United States. I would think the seal for the United States would go there for the county. I haven't seen the seal yet.
Okay. All right. So I look forward to that answer. The other problem that we ran into on the county was that no longer are any of the sheriffs or police departments allowing us to bring in envelopes or packages. In fact, they're not allowing us into the buildings with those in our hands anymore. So we're going to have to come up with another approach. I liked the one about the cookies or donuts or whatever, but I guess they're coming up with these very firm, strict rules that they're not allowing packages through the door in anyone's hands for safety reasons or whatever their thing is. So do you have any suggestions about that, or maybe that will be different if we're making an appointment to bring documentation in?
Well, you might have answered that question for yourself already, because that's a good, make an appointment. But are they receiving mail?
In fact, almost all of our envelopes were returned. We only had one that wasn't returned. So we asked for a signature and they pretty much all came back unsigned. They were refusing service. The first group, everything went through. The second group, no, they got too smart for us and they returned them all.
Yeah,
They just wouldn't accept them.
yeah. So I think that would be something just discussed more in the training that's forthcoming on how you all going to execute this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we spent like $400 and then it's all wasted because they won't. They know what's coming down the pipe, and so they're just being, what they're doing what they're doing, like they've always done. But thank you for that, and I will yield. Oh, one more question. Sorry, we've noticed that and didn't get an answer. What the difference is with the new .gov flags on all the .gov websites are now a flag that has red and silver, and then where the stars are now only has 9 boxes. Does anyone know what that's all about?
I don't. Anybody know anything about the changes in the flags?
May
It's
I,
under Trump's new republic, from what I understand, but go ahead.
It's what?
Anna addressed that in her coordinator's call, I think, last Thursday. So if you want to get that, and she addressed what the boxes were for and all that, I yield.
Yeah, I was actually the person that asked that, and it was without, she said she thought, like it was not exactly for sure that she knew.
Mhm.
But everyone, all of them are pointing out that we do a lot of research and we notice all the .gov sites have now changed the flag.
Send me a couple of links of those so I can take a look.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just thought you guys might know, so I yield.
Any other questions? You all are good because I only got 6 minutes. So as far as the next meeting, so for the strategy task force, the next meeting is on the 17th, on the 15th, and that was going to be for our model counties training session. And then I'm alternating the following session after that on the 29th will be for the Peacekeepers execution planning session. What I'm asking of the Peacekeepers, if you all want to get involved at this level of getting and executing the actual project like I just described it, I would like to have regular meetings, and somebody's going to be taking over for me because it's got to get down to the brass tacks, and I'm not the one to teach you the brass tacks. So either Boyd or Adam, Andrew, somebody's going to be taking over for me. But we need all of the Peacekeepers on board. All the Peacekeepers who are on board with this to devise the strategy together. We want to deploy it all together. And that's an important part of the Resurgence Project, that we all be on the same page, saying the same things, delivering the same things, knowing who we're talking to, dressing the same, not the same way, but in your garb, whatever garb it is. That type of thing is what we're going to be talking about more and more in our Peacekeepers execution planning session. Now, as the Resurgence Project is developed, as it's designed, anybody, any state assembly, any county assembly can participate if they want to. It's an opportunity for you to participate and us actually taking our place on the world stage. That's what we're trying to do. If you don't want to participate, that's your sovereign right not to participate as well. So that's why I'm being clear. Whoever would like to, whichever Peacekeepers would like to get on board, I would like to start these meetings like this, alternating the Sundays just for the Peacekeepers. So you can let me know if you want to be involved in that way. I think the only group that may not have a choice are the liaisons. You might not have a choice. But the county sheriffs and the militia commanders, you all have a choice, I would think. All right, so I will send out the replay. Hopefully we'll have one. If you get one, if yours is recorded there, Rocky, you let me know. I'll see if mine is recorded and I'll let you know if I need it. Other than that, I will send it out and I'll send all the documents with it too again, just in case, and I'll get the one for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, add that one too. Any other questions before we go? All right, you all have a good evening.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Louise.
being here. You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Louise.
All right.
Thanks, Louise. I will send you the copy.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, everyone.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise.